Believe it or not, Geek, in Superflex leagues, in 2 quarterback leagues, there's still such a thing as sleepers. Now, sleepers when we first started playing fantasy football were players that nobody else had heard of that that you were in the know, but in the information age, there's no real sleepers. So what a sleeper is, just think about it's a player that's asleep and that could wake up at some point during the season. And you'd think in a Superflex league, in 2 quarterback leagues, that all of these guys are rostered, but I still remain they're so hard to acquire. I just had someone try to get Daniel Jones for me for a pick 1 point, rookie 112. Obviously, I see you laughing over there, and I am too. But there are still sleepers to be had in these leagues that people aren't realizing the full value.
Yeah, let's call them slightly undervalued. Obviously, Superflex, it is a barren wasteland at quarterback right now. There's no more valuable position on your Dynasty Superflex team. Like, if you have a quarterback that's decent, you have gold. What do you think says that the value at this point? Give me a top 6, quarterback. What should I be trading him for? What are they worth? Because
you don't trade them.
There's so few of them.
You don't trade those guys. There's no situation. If you're a contending team, you need. So just say like the ADP 6 quarterback is Trevor Lawrence, right? Or Lamar Jackson, whoever, that not tier 1, but that's tier 2, right? So if you're contending, you want that guy on your roster. And if you're rebuilding, you want to rebuild on there. When I see these guys traded, unless it's like, an obvious smash yes, it should always be no.
There's a price for everything. Has a price.
That's true.
Everything has a price. There's a price, but or you might have a third guy. What if you have 3? I have teams where I have 3 top 12 quarterbacs. I have a third.
Right, but sometimes you have 3 and then you have 1 because 2 guys get injured.
Yeah. The quarterback injury is crazy, and we've seen it in the last couple of years. But yeah, I mean, it's just I think a function of the league right now. Tom Brady retiring, Aaron Rodgers kind of like on the way out. There's the new crop needs to emerge. I mean, there's 4, 5, 6 quarterbacks maybe going to be starters after this draft, and who knows if any of them are any good.
Yeah, I don't want to drift off too much, but you mentioned Tom Brady. Did you see the news that Tom Brady, it's in play that, he didn't say no when he was asked if you want to play for Miami. I mean, what's the percentage chance? Because you and I talked about this a few months ago. You said 0. I said about 25%. The truth probably is somewhere in between. What percentage chance does Tom Brady, listen to this, how I'm stipulating, take 1 snap this year in an NFL uniform?
I'll give it 10%.
Okay. So you should be rostering him then in Dynasty Superflex.
Well, I mean, don't drop him.
Right. And if you're in a startup, what, like QB 30, QB 20?
No, even worse. Like, maybe one of the last picks in the draft.
All right. Tom Brady on your Dynasty Superflex roster or Zach Wilson?
Tom Brady has a better shot of helping your team, as crazy it is, than Zach Wilson does.
Well, Zach Wilson's QB 32 or 33 by ADP. Maybe he might be a little bit higher. It might be like 29. So then
That's
Brady,
ridiculous.
you have.
Wait, how is Zach Wilson 29 by ADP?
I mean, are you taking Zach Wilson or Andy Dalton? I mean, those are. Yeah.
He might help you. He might play. Well, all right. So there's this, I guess, being a Jets fan, there's this thought, I guess, that what if the Jets don't get Rodgers? I guess that just make it, if like the Jets don't get Rodgers and all of a sudden Zach Wilson has to be the guy again.
That's what I'm saying.
I can't even accept that.
Yeah,
I can't even accept that reality. I don't allow it.
Yeah. All right. So believe it or not, there are some Superflex sleepers, and I'm going to bring up some. We're going to talk about a few of these guys. So the purpose of this podcast, if you're watching a Dynasty Fantasy Football podcast, and at this time of the year, that means you're into the startup scene, and if you're in quarterback trouble, meaning you've just been toggling between, you thought Jameis Winston a couple years ago was going to help you, and now he's just a complete backup. And Derek Carr is your QB1, or maybe you have an elite guy like Justin Herbert, but you just don't have anything to backfill that as your QB2. So here's a couple guys that we're going to talk about, and Geek is going to give me what he thinks the viability is and how we can acquire those guys on our roster. So Geek, as DraftKings or your favorite sports betting odds on where the quarterbacks are going to get drafted, the rookie class, that is, can help us shape what we think is going to happen in the real NFL draft. And more, Geek, I'm thinking that the Houston Texans aren't ready to take a quarterback in this year's draft. in the first round. They have 2 first-round picks. The first player I want to talk about is Davis Mills as a sleeper quarterback who could get NFL starts this year. He could be had for almost nothing. You can give your 2.11, your 3, and get him on your roster. So
don't.
If the Texans, hold on, if the Texans don't take a rookie quarterback this year, he's the starting quarterback for the team.
I don't think so. I don't see them doing that. I figure even if they didn't take a quarterback, which to me would blow my mind, and I don't agree that they're not ready to take a quarterback. I think when you're a young team, like they should and they will. But I think they'll find another way. I would not pay a late second for Davis Mills, but you're correct in the sense that there is a cockamamie scenario where he winds up being still the only guy that they have.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even that cockamamie. Like, the betting odds now have the second overall pick to be one of the defensive players. Will Levis is now have better odds than C.J. Stroud to be the starter, to be the second overall pick. I can't see Houston taking Will Levis. I mean, it could happen, but let's say they take a position player, pick 2. The next pick they have is 12, Houston Texans. So in order to get a quarterback, either someone has to fall or they have to move up a couple spots. Let's say neither of those happen. I mean, Davis Mills is the week 1 starter. So
yeah, I think there's going to be a quarterback there at 12. I think it's very, very much a speculation, but I don't think they're going to go in. Listen, Davis Mills, he wasn't bad his first season as a starter, but he almost regressed last year. If they just want to tank it, though, I just don't think he's helping your team win even if he starts. So it's the worst of backup quarterbacks. But like the one, evil genius scheme that the Texans could be doing here is just like, hey, let's tank it and get another first high pick.
Right, but you understand. I mean, you understand this because you play a lot of Superflex drafts. Any starting quarterback is better to be in that Superflex spot than what position player would be in that Superflex spot. Now, You could say, right, I mean, if you're going to have to put Jahan Dotson, to say, in that the wide receiver on the Washington Commanders, in that Superflex spot, because you don't have a second quarterback, or Davis Mills, you're going to put Davis Mills in there. So, again, yeah, if you talk about the guys that we like, the Daniel Joneses, the Jordan Loves, these guys that are like quarterback 16 through 18, those guys are going to cost real draft capital, real players. But I'm talking about, for this podcast, what's the actionable information, some of these quarterbacks that may have no value, but how much value is pick 2.11 going to likely have in your starting lineup? So that's really all where I'm coming from with someone like Davis Mills.
Yeah, I think I'm fine with it. I don't think he's helping your team. I would definitely not trade for him. That's much more of because it's too speculative. I don't want anybody to go out and give up a pick for that guy, because that pick you're probably throwing it away.
But so is pick 2.11. You're probably the guy you picked there. You're probably throwing away anyway.
No, Superflex. I think that's still an acceptable. I still like my guys at 2.11. Like, I'm still excited to make that pick. So
yeah, you're excited, and that's what I'm saying. Is you can capitalize off of that excitement and get someone that's actually going to help you. So put it this way: who is more likely to have more fantasy points in 2023? Whoever you random pick at 2.10, 2.11 in your rookie draft this year, or Davis Mills?
Yeah, I would say the guy I randomly take at 2.11 or 2.12 is more likely, unless Davis Mills, unless that scenario comes around where he starts. Listen, if we're after the draft and that guy is,
well, then it's too late. It's too late. Then you can't do it, because the guy will.
I don't think it's too late. I see. This is an argument that you and I have a lot. I don't think it's too late. I think the upside of Davis Mills, if he's starting this year, is at second. You're not getting a first for him.
Right, but you don't always have to cash in picks. Sometimes you can take the points. And if the Houston Texans go through the draft and they do not take a quarterback, and Davis Mills is the starting quarterback, you will no longer be able to get him for a late second rounder, because he's starting in the NFL for the foreseeable future. And we're not talking about if you're flush at quarterback. If you have Jalen Hurts and Trevor Lawrence as your 2 starters, sure, you're not going to do this deal. But you and I have seen this. We're in these leagues where people are just they loaded up on their positions in the startup drafts. They did not take a quarterback, and now they're like, oh my God, every week I'm losing because I don't have a quarterback to even start in my QB2 spot. And that is the purpose of this podcast today.
Yeah, to me, I think you can get him for a second after he's named the starter.
All right. Well, we shall see.
Yeah,
we shall see.
I just think you can get him there anyway because that guy's like, it's a 1-year thing. He's not that good even when he does start. And if you need an emergency start, I think that's a guy you can get. I would not trade for him before. I would wait on that one. And if he was named, I think you get him for a second, even still as a starter.
Yep. And really, it's not like don't wait, second. If you're doing a bigger trade, just say, running back for a tight end or whatever your deal is, and you see that the guy has Davis Mills on his roster and you like where the deal is at, I think at this point today, before the NFL draft, you can get this guy to throw him in.
That's my favorite way to acquire. So you're not really giving it, but I'll give you an example. I just did a trade like this and there was a throw-in player and I didn't think about it. And then afterwards I thought, wow, the psychology. I wonder if that guy really wanted that player. I'm going to tell you who it was because I think it's interesting. If you don't mind a little tangent, but I'm doing a trade completely off topic, right? For Sam Diggs, for Evans, and a little package. And the throw-in was Jordan Mason, the running back from the Steelers.
No, Jaylen Warren.
Jaylen Warren. I think that was the name, right? Jaylen Warren, the running back from the Steelers. Basically a rookie last year that was like somebody on your roster. I was like, okay, throw him in. Didn't even think twice about it. But if somebody would have approached me and maybe even tried to get him for a pick, I'd be like, I want a 3rd rounder for that guy just because, you're interested. So I want something. So, he could have been he could have thrown Davis Mills on that. And I'd been like, all right, I'll throw him in. I wouldn't have thought twice about it. It would have been free.
No, you bring up a good point about the psychology of trades. And I have another, since we're talking about trade hacks, and we'll get back to our Superflex sleepers in a moment. And I was thinking about this trade hack. So I learned a valuable lesson last year where somebody sent me a trade. And you know how many, if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football, you know how many garbage trade offers you get. I mean, it's basically a bad garage sale, right? Somebody wants the best player in the deal, and you know the deal. So someone actually sent me a trade that I liked, but it was the first offer. So being the greedy person that all of us Dynasty players are, we can't just hit accept. We have to say, hey, what else can I squeeze out of this? An extra 3rd rounder or an extra this, an extra that. So the mistake I made on Sleeper was I hit the counter button and I added another 3rd or 4th rounder in. And I said, hey, just throw this 4th rounder in or 3rd rounder in and we got a deal. The guy was a little offended because he thought that the deal he sent was fair, and it was. So he just canceled and said, no, I'm not interested. So by the time I got him to cycle back and mentally be there with me, I had to give him an extra pick just to get the deal done. Yeah, so that was the lesson learned. So here is the trade hack that I'm going to give you, Geek, is that let's say you get one of these deals where you like the trade offer. Instead of hitting the counter button, just recreate a new trade and send that trade over with the extra little sprinkle, because if this person gets offended and cancels it, you still have the original offer, which you could accept.
Let me tell you something. First of all, somebody getting offended by adding in a 3rd or that and then changing their mind.
You're the king of getting offended by trades, so don't even start.
No, but to not go back to your original one, but no, I'm offended. I want, get out of here.
It happens all the time.
It does happen, but well, I try and almost never to reject a trade. I'll be honest. So I almost never reject the trade unless I'm rejecting it. Unless I know for a fact I will not do this. I don't hit the reject button. And even when I don't want the trade sometimes, lately, I've been leaving it out there because it's an advantage. It's there. All of a sudden, that player tears an ACL in practice. Boom.
Yeah. The other piece, obviously. So, but you understand and can appreciate that trade hack right there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Recreate a new trade.
Totally agree with that move. Totally agree. Don't hit reject. Leave it out there, especially if you were kind of going to do it, but you're trying to be jerky about asking for the extra 3rd, Seslowsky style. If you're going to do that, leave it out there. So yeah, you could go back and it's always there. You smashed it. Yeah.
And
it's ungentlemanly. It's ungentlemanly if you left it there. If I hit accept, you can't back out of the trade. That's it. It is a done deal. There's no backing out.
And another little trade. Oh, by the way, before I forget, the RotoWire Dynasty Fantasy Football podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Now, the big board is closed, but they're still open for closed league drafts before the NFL draft. They sold out the Superflex big board. Unbelievable. But I just did a draft last night where, it's just the 12-team league, and you put in your $5-10, whatever it is, and you can win all the money. So go over there and play that now. And absolutely, they'll have another draft that opens up the day after the NFL draft is open. So thank you, Underdog. I'm Alan Seslowsky of RotoWire.com, along with the Fantasy Football Geek of the DFS Army and the Sharp app. And we are talking about Superflex sleepers. 2 QB leagues, Superflex players, some hidden value in quarterback. The second guy I want to talk about now, we hear a lot of Trey Lance rumors, right? Trey Lance's value is up or down depending on where you value him. And obviously Brock Purdy, same situation. There's a lot of discussion that Brock Purdy would be the day one starter. So I'm just thinking about this in a different way, Geek. I'm thinking that you and I see the case where Brock Purdy is not ready for this year, or certainly a significant part of it. Trey Lance does get traded because a team just desperately wants to take a shot on him. Enter Sam Darnold. They signed him this year for a reasonable contract. San Francisco 49ers. What's the under-over? What would you be comfortable setting at? Sam Darnold starts in 2023. If I gave you the number of 4.5, what would you take?
Yeah, I think listen, if I'm betting a 50-50, listen, over under, I think Samwise Darnold has a good chance of starting. I think this is I'm over.
So this is a good sleeper for Superflex then.
Yes, I really like this one, and I'm going to paint another scenario for you because I think I've heard the rumors of the trade thing, and rumors where there's smoke there's fire. So I accept it. But even if Trey Lance plays, do we trust this guy not to get hurt? Like, do we trust him to play? Do we trust him not to suck to the point where they need to switch it up? So there are 3 or 4 scenarios where Darnold gets in without the trade. There's one where Trey Lance just sucks, and they're like, listen, this guy just sucks. Like Malik Willis style, right? Where last year, we just can't play him. We can't throw this guy out there. He's that bad, right? Maybe Trey Lance is that bad. We don't know. That's one.
Right.
Number 2 is that
so
trade.
So what you're saying is that's the first case where Sam Darnold plays anyway.
You don't need the far-fetched, like, what? They traded him. Oh, my God. You don't even need that. You can just be like, wow, okay, Brock Purdy just not ready, and Trey Lance sucks, and these guys want to win their games. They're going to put the veteran in, Baker Mayfield style. Like, they're going to put the veteran in. So Darnold, by the way, Darnold still, even though he sees the ghosts and he's got issues, he has the physical talent to where the 49ers, the fixers of all things quarterback, maybe they could fix him.
Take a guess without looking, just snap call. How old is Sam Darnold?
I don't think he's very old. I would say 24.
He is 25 years old. He'll be 26 in June, but he's been in the league for 6 years plus.
Seems like
right?
He's been around. Yeah, he was very young. Again, not very good, but he's had a few years to marinate.
And he's flashed. He's definitely flashed fantasy football upside.
And after he left, he went to very bad quarterback factories. All of his stops. So what if a team that was able to get Brock Purdy, a 7th round nothing pick, ready and able to function in his rookie year, like as a starter? Sam's got the mind of a first year confused rookie quarterback.
Why can't Sam Darnold, Geek, be this year's Geno Smith? Last year, Geno Smith in Superflex leagues was available on 30-man roster waiver wires. I picked him up in quite a few leagues once because people were leaning Drew Lock. So I guess really that's the point, is that all QB1s and plenty of QB2s and sometimes QB3s on their own roster should be at least added. If you're never going to start Trent Sherfield, drop that guy, add, Sam Darnold. I mean, Sam Darnold's not going to be available, but you get the point.
Exactly that guy, right? And we allowed our cognitive bias saying, he sucks, right? We all just had this like, Geno sucks. Like, it was a cognitive collective bias that no one wanted to draft him. Marcus Mariota going ahead of him. Everybody. Davis Mills last year going well ahead of Geno Smith. So, yeah, Darnold could be that. I like that as a sleeper for sure.
All right. So our next Superflex sleeper, quarterbacks that, sleeper is someone that can come awake. Now, this guy, Sam Howell, who I'm going to talk about next, is the next Superflex sleeper where every time there's a news blurb that comes out, it says he's probably our starter. We'll make a decision after the NFL draft. Point is that a month and a half ago, he was a true sleeper. He's starting to wake up a little bit right now, but he goes so late in these dynasty startup drafts. And there's a chance Washington can make a move for a quarterback in the real NFL draft. I believe that Sam Darnold is worth pursuing because Sam Howell, we're talking about the Washington Commanders quarterback. He was a 5th-round pick last year. That lack of draft capital stuck to him, but he was considered the QB1 overall in last year's class before the whole college season happened. So there's upside there too. Sam Howell, does he qualify as a QB sleeper in Superflex?
Yeah. So what I love about Sam Howell, and it looks like he might get the starting role. Fine by me. That's definitely... He flashed something in that one start last year, and I'm going to tell you what it was. He ran a couple times. I believe he had 5 rushes, maybe 35 or so rushing yards. And that's all I care about. Give me the legs. So I don't know if Sam Howell is like a running quarterback or if that was a one-game phenomenon, but for fantasy purposes, this is where like a Sam Howell's a much better risk than like a Davis Mills. So Sam Howell, he did flash something that produces fantasy points. A little rushing upside.
Sam Howell and Davis Mills are going to be different price points too. I mean, Sam Howell is going to be like coveted, whereas Davis Mills is basically going to be, in the dented can bin.
Let me ask you this: by coveted, do you think you can get Sam Howell for a high 2nd-round pick, like a pick like 2.2?
Well, so if you're in a Superflex league, I don't think anyone... Now, do we agree, by the way, that pick 1.12 and 2.2 are the similar tier, just in general? I mean, obviously...
In general, yes,
right.
But psychologically, you want to be selling 112.
There it is. So I think you can get... So this is my point. I think you can get him for 112, but not for 2.2. And that makes no sense logically, but psychologically, I think that if you were going to try to acquire him, that's what it would take.
You're giving away the biggest like psychological hack of all for all of Dynasty.
That's right what we do here. I mean, that's the purpose.
You're giving away my secrets. That is my number one psyop in Dynasty is what you just said.
Well, you have to remember, there's a point where we choose. Do we want to be a content creator and give value?
I know. I'm not worried about giving away the secret. I'm joking. I'm kidding. But that is the number one psyop of all of Dynasty.
Well, what? State what it is.
It's just that people, 1st-round pick, as long as it's a 1st-round pick, there's something psychological about it. So you can give 111, 112, and it's the same as 2-1 or 2-3, but 2-1 and 2-3 is not worth anywhere near 111, 112 because I'll give you a 1st for him. Oh, okay, I'll take the 1st. Well, it's a late 1st. All right, well, that's probably what I would expect. So I love it. It's a little psyop. If you ever have the late 1st, you want to be selling those.
Yeah, and the answer to that is like, look, when we take away when we pull up the curtain on those 2 picks, they could be reversed in actual value. The 2 could be worth more. I mean, right now, if you think about last year's draft, Rachaad White, Jahan Dotson, 2nd-round picks are way more valuable in my judgment than James Cook or, Sky Moore, who were late 1st-round picks.
Correct. There's a little luck of the draw there, but
that's my point.
Super different, right?
That's
same thing.
That's my point. Is that the luck of the draw, but it's not that luck. It's just like, oh, that's how it turned out this time. There's not a real difference between 111 and 2.2 in your chances of hitting. Now, you could say, hey, at 111, I got Jalen Waddle a couple years ago, and the 2.2 was something that was a total disaster. Yes, it happens both ways.
Yeah, I think for me, Howell is better than this year's quarterback class when you talk about like QB6 and QB7 who are being talked about. You know what? I'm embarrassed to say the name. I think is Hooker one of the names.
Yeah, Hendon Hooker.
Okay, there we go.
From Tennessee.
And then there's a QB. There's another one behind him in the rookie that is being disguised. And the reason listen, these guys might go in round 7 and they might go in round 2 or 1. Like, you don't know. But I would rather have Sam Howell, who he will probably start for his team unless some crazy thing happens. That is the guy that they're going to go into. He's going to have a year. I would be actively looking to acquire him this year.
And before the NFL draft, because if he's named the starter after the NFL draft, if they don't do anything, the price goes up. So I know you want to see in fantasy football, you need to make it, you need to do it before it actually happens. You need to anticipate the moves, and sometimes you're going to miss. I know, Geek, you like to see it before you buy it, but the price goes up, and maybe that's not a bad thing. It just means you're going to pay more.
I would rather pay more, but have at least the security of knowing I'm getting a season. I'd probably wait until after the draft. Personally, just my risk tolerance, because I can't stomach getting rid of even an early second, and then having the rug pulled. So I would rather even pay a little bit more. I don't think the payment is that much more. I think the owner of Sam Howell is not giving him up for a late second.
And just to go back onto the point of sometimes, Geek's philosophy is he wants to see it first before he buys. He's okay paying more. Whereas I'm trying to anticipate the moves are going to happen. Last year, when Daniel Jones' stock was in the toilet, I gave Najee Harris and got back Daniel Jones plus picks. Now, that could have gone wrong on me, but right now I think everyone could agree in Superflex leagues, Daniel Jones is a much more valuable pick than Najee Harris, just based on all the factors that all Dynasty player knows. I want to keep moving here, Geek. All right, we're talking about
critique of that trade too, though.
God,
I think you paid the Daniel Jones has emerged and looks good price. It wasn't the, oh my God, I need to get rid of Daniel Jones, he sucks price. That's my critique of that.
Well, that's never going to happen. The only difference was Daniel Jones didn't have a contract yet, so he wasn't insulated. That's how I was able to get the deal done. Now that Daniel Jones has got a contract, he's guaranteed to get 2 years of starts. He's on a 4 or 5 year contract, but obviously we know that those NFL contracts are only guaranteed for 2 years. Now he's an insulated quarterback, and whatever. It just highlights. It's an example of the philosophies we were talking about.
I'm going to throw out what I did. Because Daniel, this is good. I did. You and I. So let's put it into perspective. You and I were literally on the phone having conversations about Daniel Jones is going to break out. We need to be acquiring him before like the word gets out. Daboll's looking good. The whole thing. So we had those conversations. I was able to acquire Jones around the same time for 2 second rounders. Yep. That's paying the discount price. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, there was and you're correct in the sense most people are going to say no to that offer, but that I did make that trade right around that time because there is paying the real bargain price, whereas you're maybe paying the other guy is sharp enough to see what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I think it's all league context.
Yeah, and the opposition.
League context and the experience of the players. And I think that a lot of people that are watching a Dynasty podcast in April are going to be definitely they're going to be experienced players.
Hardcore. Yeah, that is the hardcore crew.
What we try to do is give actionable advice that, but of course, you always want to start lower. I believe I did too, but I think that's where we landed. All right.
That's what I'm saying. You take what you get, but always, I'm just saying, like, I'm looking for the bargain. I love the discount. So if I can get it, I'm obsessed with it. And I'm more interested, when I go shopping, my wife is like, you just buy anything that's on sale because you love buying things on sale. Like, that's what you like. And I'm like, I don't even care if I need it. I just want it because I feel like I got a good deal. That's how I feel about everything.
Next, Superflex. And by the way, the risk with Sam Howell is that if they're not winning games, Ron Rivera is probably on the hot seat this year. If they don't make the playoffs, there's a chance that he's not going to have his job coaching anymore. So if things go south from a win-loss perspective, Jacoby Brissett, who we all think is a competent plug and play, so that's the risk to Sam Howell too, is that they have a veteran on the team, and Jacoby Brissett's probably going to be on the scrap heap if he's not rostered.
What do you got to pay for Brissett?
I think right now, with all the Sam Howell helium, you could easily get him for third or fourth. When you're on the clock in your rookie draft starting right after the NFL draft, if you don't like the options there and you want to give your fourth rounder, you could probably do it, and maybe even your fifth.
If you have Sam Howell, and let's say either you acquire him and you just need, let's say your team just needs that QB2. I got nothing. I got a great team. I have situations like this where I have Trey Lance as my QB2, and it's like I basically have nothing.
Well, that's what this podcast is for.
Yeah.
It's to help people find gettable quarterbacks. Because, you can go buy Kirk Cousins. Good luck. You're not getting Kirk Cousins unless you're giving up real assets.
No, I think this comes together. So now, instead of that scary trade where you pick up Howell and you don't know what's going to happen, what I would do is, if I'm doing the Howell deal, one way or another, I acquire him. I'm just getting Brissett also. Let me go out. Let me give a fort. Let me, give you, what was that running back? Jalen Warren, right? Let me give you something like that. Give me back some Jacoby Brissett. So at the very least, I know, all right, I probably, maybe wait till the draft, but I probably covered myself for an okay QB2 just to fill in on this team that's otherwise elite at all these other positions.
Yeah. So today we're talking about Superflex sleepers, players in your Dynasty Superflex League that it may not seem like they have any value now, but I want you to think about your Superflex QB2 similar to how you think of your running back 2 in redraft. Whereas you get your one stud running back, you put him in there, then you accumulate your wide receivers, and then you're cycling through these RB2s. You're putting in Devin Singletary, and then you're putting in James Cook when he has an obvious matchup. And if you don't have 2 stars at quarterback or 2 every week players in your Superflex League, you're going to be cycling through these guys. So that's what the purpose of this podcast is. And we're going to take a short break for the listening audience. We come back, we're going to give you a couple QB3s on their rosters, which could get at least 3 starts this year. We'll be right back after this. And we're back. I'm Alan Seslowsky of RotoWire.com. You follow me at Alan Seslowsky, and I'm sitting next to the Fantasy Football Geek at FFootballGeek. You follow him on Twitter as well, founder of DFS Army and the Sharp app, and we're talking about Superflex sleepers. All right, Geek, you and I both were very in on acquiring Tyler Heineke when he was on the Washington Commanders. We loved his fantasy football game. Now he's sitting as of the time of this recording as the QB2 behind Desmond Ridder on the Atlanta Falcons. Right? Everyone loves the Atlanta Falcons for the running, scrambling quarterbacks. Nobody really has. I mean, they're good. The Atlanta Falcons are going with Desmond Ridder as their starter, and right now, no one's even thinking about Taylor Heineke. I mean,
no one's even thinking about Desmond Ridder,
right? Well,
Heineke,
right? Well, He's rostered. Obviously, he was drafted last year, and he's a player that you could, if you don't believe in him, you could trade. But right now, what we're talking about is these guys that are just so deep and buried on dynasty rosters that could get a couple starts. Do you think this qualifies? Would you be going out and just basically giving like your 5th round rookie pick for someone like Taylor Heineke, who could get 1 or 2 starts?
So I think when you say, would you give your 5th round rookie pick? What the true question is, because I want to really kind of get the value here, is if he's on your roster right now, are you dropping him or not?
No,
that's kind of what it is, right? Isn't it? Isn't the 5th rounder basically somebody that you're dropping? You know what I'm saying? Like for me, it's that's the question. Like if he's on my roster, I'm holding on to him. If he's available on the free agency wire right now, yeah, why not? Give him a pickup. I like to have if you have the space. This is a question of how much space you have on your bench, because Heineke.
Right, we're talking about these sleeper leagues, 30-person benches.
If you have the space, I'll hold on to. I'm not dropping him. He's not dropped. If I have him, he's still there. I don't think I'm actively going out to acquire him in any way. But if I have him, maybe if I have Des Ridder, I'm actively looking to acquire a backup for Des Ridder. I'm much more interested in him as just like, all right, like where I'll hold a backup like that. And it's really probably injury, but you're right. There is a Ridder just straight sucks. So they got to bring in the backup guy, but we already know what Heineke is, and it's not that good. Like
for fantasy football, it's very good. It's very good.
It's fine. You're definitely starting him over the Jahan Dotson of the world, or pretty much over just about any starting position player that's not named Justin Jefferson. You're starting whatever.
Nobody has a top 20 wide receiver in their super flex spot unless they're desperate. Those guys are in your 3 wide receiver plus your flex spot. So I don't want to spend too much time on Taylor Heineke. We're just trying to identify some of these guys.
I'll throw a name out there for you, because this name, I don't think this guy might start.
Just say the name.
What about Baker Mayfield? What about him? Very late. No one wants Baker Mayfield, but he might be the starting quarterback on his team. We don't know. So that's an interesting one for me. An interesting name that's beyond, you're probably going to get a starter for a season, and a guy that will continue to float around the league as, the utility man at the quarterback position for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Baker Mayfield. I mean, the only issue with Baker is these other guys that we're identifying, they have a little bit of upside. We've seen Baker, even when he's starting, the upside is limited. But absolutely, I'm on board with nobody wants Baker Mayfield. He could be had as a throw-in right now because he is named the starter. He's going to continue to accumulate value. As I continue to scour down the QB2 rankings, and meaning that the backup quarterbacks on their own team, I don't think Sean Payton in Denver is going to have a lot of patience with Russell Wilson, and they actively acquired Jarrett Stidham, who we saw have a blow-up game for the Raiders. Or do you think that Stidham qualifies as part of this conversation as a Superflex sleeper?
I think I like that you acquired him. I think Stidham is somebody that you can actually maybe even pick up off of free agency. He might be floating around.
The problem is that he started the last 2 games last year, including your championship weekend. So if he started those games in week 7 and 8, I'd say fine, he's probably under waiver wire. But because it was so late in the season, he was rostered. So until people start to make their cut downs, now you could wait for him. He could be clipped, right? Because there's no one.
Unless you're in the craziest of deep leagues, there's a reasonable chance that guy gets dropped. I do like that pickup. Listen, he looked good as a starter. He looked good. Who looked bad? Russell Wilson. But Stidham looked good as a starter, and they liked him a little bit in New England at one point. Everything's pointing to maybe with him. I'm down with that. I did pick him up in any leagues that he was floating around just because I saw the talent when he played. I like situations like that, and he's somebody you'll have on your team, and he'll float around for his career and find another starting gig next year.
Yeah, these guys,
he'll be around every year.
Geek, these guys are not players we're even thinking about outside of 1 year. We're just thinking about, a lot of us have these rosters. We have maybe, Josh Allen or Justin Herbert as our QB1, and we just haven't found answers. So we're trying to just cycle through these guys. And Jared, he's only 26 years old, so he's in his athletic prime right now. And I like that the Denver Broncos went out and got him. They were happy with him. And I mean, if I set the under-over for starts for Jared Stidham on the Denver Broncos at 2.5, would you take the over there? I mean, can you see him getting, whether it's through injury, through its performance, or whatever it is, even though
I would be absolutely shocked if they benched Russell Wilson at any point next year, regardless. So I would be beyond shocked if this guy plays outside of an injury.
All right, that's fair. So, but injury is possible as well.
They're always possible, but that I don't make too much of a habit of rostering a lot of backup quarterbacks, but injury is possible, but I don't see him getting the performance start unless Russell Wilson comes in and just acts like an asshole.
Anyone in the chat right now, if you want to put in your Superflex sleeper quarterbacks that you can help everybody out, put them in there right now. Post them in there. See what Superflex sleepers that we haven't talked about here. A couple other players right now. I don't think Jordan Love qualifies because he's going to be starting. Hold on a second. He's going to be starting for the Green Bay Packers. We presume Aaron Rodgers, I think no matter what, will not be back. I think that's safe. Now, Jordan Love right now is valued around the QB 18 in Dynasty startup drafts. I've seen him go as high as 15 or 16. He's a player that's still acquirable, but we don't know. He's a former first-round pick, and there's top 12 upside with him. We love Christian Watson, the wide receiver. I've seen Jackson Smith and Jigba, the rookie, mocked there to the Green Bay Packers. If not, Certainly Michael Mayer, pass catching tight end. I still believe that even though he's not a true sleeper, Jordan Love is an undervalued asset, borderlining on sleeper in dynasty leagues.
Yeah, I think Jordan Love's a great pick here. What can you get him for? In other words, what's the actual cost to acquire Jordan Love? The Jordan Love owner has been holding on to him, just waiting for years. One thing that I've noted about Jordan Love, which seemed to be a misconception around dynasty circles, like there was this misconception about Jordan Love that he is a running quarterback or has leg upside. I don't know where that comes from. I haven't seen any of that in his college career. I haven't seen any of that in his NFL career so far. But Jordan Love did not look horrible for the few snaps that he's had for the Packers, particularly last season. What do I need to pay to acquire him, Says?
Yeah, I paid. So let me ask you this before I tell you what I paid. Is who do you think is who's likely to get more starts this year in the NFL? Trey Lance or Jordan Love? Not fantasy football production. Who is likely to get more starts in your judgment?
From a likelihood standpoint, definitely Jordan Love. Jordan Love starts the season. He is the guy.
All right. So so what I paid was I got Jordan Love and Khalil Herbert, and I gave up Trey Lance. Now I know that's paying a lot. That's paying more than you would pay. I can already see it in your face. But it's one of those things that goes back, it harkens back to our original conversation. What's their fantasy football value going to be 18 months from now? I could look completely foolish, but this is why. So if you want to overpay, pay with a high upside, uncertain guy like Trey Lance, and then you can get more for him than that.
I love that trade. So I'm not going to critique it. I do love to critique your trades, as you know. I love to crap on them. But not this time. I'm okay with that all day. So here's the thing. It's exactly the reason you just said. Sure, Trey Lance has the upside. He does. He's got the legs and the whole deal. But Jordan Love is starting this year. Trey Lance, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen with Trey Lance. Listen, we just found out like a week ago that what I kind of thought in the offseason is coming true, that Brock Purdy probably not ready for the season, right? Probably. So
not week one, at least.
Yeah. Listen, when you're a quarterback, if you're not ready for week one, when you're ready in week 3, like 2 weeks later, you're fine. Like, no, if you don't ready, you're not ready. You're not playing. So we just found that out. And now, again, rumors of the 49ers looking for trades. Sam Darnold in there, probably, a real actual competitor. So I don't know that Trey Lance will ever start in the NFL or be a consistent starter. Think about the rookie Richardson. It's the same deal, like where there's a lot of upside there, but I don't know, like he could be horrible. Jordan Love is starting, and he's starting this year, and he's probably starting next year if he doesn't look like complete garbage. So, look how much pressure. It's not just the first round pick pressure. It's we let Rodgers go because we were so excited about this guy. This is Brett Favre. This is a thing where they need to let it play out. So you'll get 2 seasons of starter from Jordan Love unless he absolutely craps the bed.
And you have to remember that the Green Bay Packers are probably okay trading away Aaron Rodgers because they've seen Jordan Love develop over 3 years. I mean, now he may not be, he may not be great, but he also, he's probably going to be at least a middling quarterback when you rank them out. And I believe that there's upside for a top 12 finish with him.
Couple of things for the Packers, though. Let's say Jordan Love is awesome. He's great. He's getting paid at the end of this year. Like, you're going to then have to pay him really quickly after him just even being okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I mean, that was the gamble they took to get a couple seasons of MVP Rodgers. I don't disagree with what they did there. I mean, at some point you have to pay. All right, a couple of non-Superflex quarterback things I wanted to talk to you about, Geek, and is Calvin Ridley versus Christian Kirk value-wise. Now, I want to just switch the question to redraft for a second because I was doing a best ball yesterday, and Calvin Ridley goes a full round and a half above Christian Kirk. Calvin Ridley, 29 years old. So let's start with their redraft value, and then we'll make it a dynasty question. Who do you think will have more fantasy points on the Jacksonville Jaguars this year? PPR points, Calvin Ridley or Christian Kirk if you had to pick one?
Man. It's so close. the fact that one is going around and I'll take the other one.
But
right?
no, let's
Every
just
time.
say
But
cost.
Yes, Ridley. Like that would be my lean, but just a little bit. And if you remember last year, that team spread the football around generously. Like there was not even Christian Kirk wasn't exclusively getting. There was a Zay Jones over there. They spread it around. So, but Calvin Ridley wasn't out for an injury. He was out for.
Well, he was suspended.
Gambling. Yeah, so he wasn't out. He's not coming off a long-term injury, needs to recover or something. He's still fine.
Well, remember that Calvin Ridley's missed 2 seasons now because the season before that, first of all, he wasn't playing well in the beginning of the season, and then he left for mental health reasons. So he's basically hasn't played in 2 years too. So I'm going to lean Kirk on this one. Yes, given the round and a half later of cost, but also in just straight up production, I think that's a miss by the fantasy market. In Dynasty, the Dynasty market has this one correct. They have Kirk above Ridley. Ridley is one of these old guys. He's 29 years old that you can get if you go running back and other position players earlier. Another Dynasty question for you here. Who do you think is, because I know you haven't looked at Dynasty ADP this morning, but who do you think is the more valuable Dynasty running back today? Rachaad White on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or Dameon Pierce on the Houston Texans? Which one of those is a more valuable Dynasty piece?
I'll tell you that I would prefer Rachaad White to Pierce. What does the market say?
The opposite. And I'm with you. I'm with you.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. That's interesting. I'm not a big fan of the late, the 4th and 5th round running back, like next year, like they get replaced in the draft so quickly, their head is spinning. You think you got a James Robinson, and next thing you know, you got a James Robinson.
Right. They turn to pumpkins quickly. Yeah. And I think that's kind of the sentiment around Tyler Algier right now, is that because of his 5th round draft capital, he had a good season. I've seen people say, "Oh, it's great. They didn't make a move. The Falcons didn't make a move in free agency." No, that's bad. That means they're going to make a move in the draft, right? So,
safety there.
And Dameon Pierce had the opposite situation happen to him, where he was a 4th round pick, and they add someone like Devin Singletary. That's exactly who you want added to the backfield. So protection, insulates you a little bit from the draft. So yeah, these two guys, Pierce versus Rachaad White. I believe Rachaad. I mean, and
how separated are they in ADP?
Not that separated.
Okay. Yeah,
not that.
I would definitely take Rachaad White because he's got the passing game chops. The dude was like the best pass receiving running back to come out of college in a while by some multiple metrics. I'll take that all day. That skill set keeps you in the league longer if you can make it work.
The other little thought, then I have a few random thoughts here, and you're the guy I love running random thoughts by.
I'm here for it.
Some of them are football related, some of them are not, but
whatever you want.
Okay. How close do you think we are in the NFL to seeing a female player in the NFL?
We are not close at all.
Oh, really? See, I think we are close. A kicker, I was thinking, right?
No, not a biological female.
No, biological female. You don't think
that
like
never happen? Never.
You don't think like a kicker could be in the NFL?
Absolutely not. She cannot generate the strength in her leg to kick it as far as a man can kick it.
I disagree.
Misogynist. Sorry, just keeping it real, ladies. No. You know it's true.
No, I disagree. I think that we are in the next 5 to 7 years, we'll see a female kicker, even just someone who can do kickoffs.
Not a chance. She can't kick it as far as the man version.
Let's say that she can, for example. Let's say that there's a female kicker who can kick the kickoff through the end zone.
There isn't, though, and there won't be.
But let's say there is. I'm giving you a hypothetical. Let's say there is.
No, because she can't tackle anybody. Absolutely not. This will never happen.
All right. If you kick it through the end zone, you don't need to tackle anybody.
No, stop it.
All right. I was thinking about an NFL rule change. Here's another random thought, and I want your feedback on it. So,
all right.
You remember when, let's say a team has the ball on like the 4-yard line. They're about to score, right? And the defense has a penalty. What's the penalty? Do you know what the penalty is? The yardage?
Wait.
So team offense is on offense. They're on the 4-yard line getting ready to score. And the defense commits a penalty. Let's say, do you know what the actual penalty is to the defense?
The defense is half the distance to the goal line.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I think that's BS. right?
Okay.
What should happen? Sorry, I have this. Let me start over. Strike that. The opposite way. The offense is on their own 4-yard line. Same thing, but they're not. They have 96 yards to go. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. They commit a penalty. Same thing. What's the penalty? They move back 2 yards. But that shouldn't be what the penalty is. This is what I was thinking about. It should be because it's a 2-yard penalty for, say, holding, right? Which would normally be a 10-yard penalty. What they should do, Geek, is move. So say it's 1st and 10 from your own 4-yard line. They should move the first down marker back.
Oh, that's an interesting, different way of looking at it.
So you stay on the 4-yard line, but now it's 1st and 20 from the 4-yard line.
It's fair. So, sure. I thought you were going to go differently and say you go to the 1-yard line no matter what. Like
Right.
There's no half the distance.
No.
You just go to the 1, but you can't go beyond it. That's interesting. The other way, I think that's super fair. I'm fine with it. I accept it.
All right, good. Yeah, so you move if you're inside the 10-yard line, there's no half the distance to the goal. It's you move the first down marker back. All right, so you like that one. All right, so we have the female kicker you don't like.
No, we'll never have. By the way, I would bet anything. This will never happen.
All right, now here's another one I know you're on board with, so I just want to put it out there into the universe, and is that in our Dynasty leagues, what we do is we allow the top seed team to choose their opponent in each round of our fantasy playoffs. So in a 12-team league, 2 teams get a bye, but the 3 seed often, sometimes the 6 seed is a better team. We want the 3 seed to choose their opponent. Do you think the real NFL should go to this format where the highest seed gets to pick their opponent in each round?
Well, first of all, I do want to say that every fantasy league that you're in, Superflex, season long, whatever it's called, should have that format where the top seed picks their opponent. As far as the NFL doing it, I'm going to say no to that because there's just something to calling out your opponent that I personally would be uncomfortable doing. It's not like a fantasy team where you would,
why is uncomfortable bad?
I feel like it's like we think you suck. It's just giving your opponent motive. I don't think that gives you the edge that you'd really want. The choosing, I think, is weird, and I'm against it.
You're against. Wouldn't that be the greatest TV ever? All of a sudden, the it's over, and now we're gonna have this press conference, and people are gonna it's the one seed gets their bye, but the 2 seed of the Bills, they have to step up to the podium just like they do with the lottery, and they have to choose their opponent. I think this would be phenomenal entertainment for the NFL.
I'm out on that. I don't like it. I'm out on it. I think that it is a fair system as we have it, but I do want to reiterate that if you're in a fantasy league, a season-long, a dynasty, that rule needs to be in place because currently, if you don't have that rule in place, the number 3 seed winds up playing the 6 seed, and the 6 seed is that generally the best team that's surging late that gets in on points. So what ends up happening is you get penalized for being first the 3rd seed, and then when the 6 beats the 3rd, now the 1 seed gets that guy, and you're getting that team that was surging going into that had the most points but didn't get the right amount of wins. It is not the correct way to run your fantasy league.
All right,
very, very adamant about this.
We'll close with a quarterback since we started with quarterbacks. This time next year, Deshaun Watson will be ranked ADP-wise quarterback fill in the blank. This time next year.
I'm going lower than where he is today.
He's QB9 today.
Yeah, I'm going to say QB12.
All right, I'm going to say QB5.
Yeah, I would love to see it. I have a ton of exposure to Deshaun, but what I saw last year, I get it, the rust, the whole deal, but I think there might be something to the Browns that causes quarterbacks not to play well.
Well, there he goes. If you're a believer in Deshaun Watson, he was a top 5 quarterback 3 years in a row before he stopped playing. So if you want to, there's a buying opportunity. My favorite trade is to take Deshaun Watson. Sorry, to buy Deshaun Watson and get a little draft capital. So if you have, one of these, if you have Justin Herbert, right, and you believe that Deshaun Watson's on that level, you can get 2 first-round picks plus Deshaun Watson to get to Justin Herbert. And I don't recommend doing that for the other elite quarterbacks, but Trevor Lawrence, those would be like the cut line there.
Let me put it like this, because I am a very, very highly exposed Deshaun Watson owner. I have him everywhere because of the bargain basement availability the last couple seasons. You know how I like the sales. We'll go back to going back to something I said earlier. So I have them everywhere. You could get Deshaun Watson not anywhere. You don't have to pay the iron price, right? Nowhere near it from me. And I've been holding him for years. I would not treat him like a top 6 asset. Like
well,
definitely
neither is the market.
Give him up.
The market's treating him as QB9. Put it all right. Deshaun Watson or Kyler Murray for the rest of their career.
Oh man, I'm still going Watson, but I'm very down on Kyler Murray.
Yeah, well, everybody is. Everyone's down on Kyler
I hate Kyler Murray. Just rest of career potential, so I'm super down on him. I would go Deshaun, but that's the delineation point.
Yeah, well, they're back.
A lot of other. I'll take. You know what you want? I get crazy here. I'll get crazy for a second. I think I like Daniel Jones better than both those guys.
Yeah, well, his ADP is higher, so. Well, no, it's not. You're right. It's not higher.
What?
You're right about, no, you're right about
What's happening out there?
Right.
Yeah, I'm seeing Watson going at the end of the first round in ADP.
You're right.
Daniel Jones available like round 4.
Round 3. Round 3. All right, everybody, that's it. Follow the Fantasy Football Geek at FFootballGeek. Go check out the Sharp app, best gambling app, I believe, on the market right now. You can download the Sharp app for free. Go over and check out DFS Army. Follow RotoWire at RotoWire on all social medias. Follow me at Alan Seslowsky. If you want to check out behind RotoWire's paywall for free, all you got to do is go to rotowire.com/pod. That's rotowire.com/pod. Just put in your email and the whole paywall unlocks for 2 days. There's no credit card or anything to put in after the 2 days. It just laps. Go check out our friends over at Underdog. You've seen them on all the other podcasts. They'll double your first deposit, and you get 6 months of RotoWire free. Just use the code over at Underdog, RWNFL. Go make some trades and let us know who your Superflex sleepers are. We talked about Sam Howell. We talked about who else did we talk about today? We talked about Jordan Love a little bit. We talked about...
who's Sam Darnold?
Darnold. We talked about Jared Stidham. If you want, go out and make some deals for these guys. They can be had after the NFL draft. It may not be as good. So make some trades. Let us know about them. If you have any questions about these players, DM us on social media. We'll see you next week with another Dynasty Fantasy